latest episode of GPR, where we're going to do something a little different, a little special, something that we're going to be doing for the next 11 months. We are going to sort of do a primer of all the various doctors, starting with the first one. But first, I'm very happy to, say hello to again my two co-hosts, which I have not seen in almost, it seems like 2 months for videotaping or filming episodes. So I'll have them introduce themselves first this time, because it's been forever.
Angela Pritchett.
And Drew Meyer.
And I am your host, Davey Beauchamp. And for our first primer retrospect on a doctor, we're going to the very first doctor, William Hartnell.
I was going to say Quatermass.
No. No. So, the first doctor. Do you have anything you want to say about the first doctor before we get into the questions I have for you?
I kind of want to hear the questions first, just so I don't jump on the, hey, he was the first, so, there's that. He was an old guy.
Yes.
Grumpy old guy.
Grumpy old guy.
Very grumpy old guy. I'll throw out a few tidbits of information first before we get into the questions. He has the most companions out of any of the classic doctors.
Makes sense.
He had a total of 10, because he was this, grumpy old man, just, I don't like you, I'm going to get somebody new.
Some of them off left and right.
Yeah, pretty much. Actually, yes, that's true. We have the
Two
first...
of them in one episode.
Yes, we have the first death with him with Katerina, and then Sarah Kingdom.
Yep, the same episode.
Does Sarah Kingdom count?
She does count.
She does count.
Okay.
She does count. Okay. So, let's start with Angela. What is your favorite First Doctor episode?
First Doctor episode, the one that I remember the most, just because it had very interesting camera angles, because it looks like they keep using the same hallway, was the Daleks. Because the people just kept going into this one doorway and back out. Then they change the angle. And they go back in the same doorway and back out. But I mean, that one, it was fun too, because it was like a big maze on Skaro. It's like Skaro's just this big, like, maze of a building. And then we realized it's not later on. But it was a fun little episode. And I have other episodes that I like, but I mean, that one's just one that stuck with me since I first saw it years and years ago.
Yeah, well, one thing I'll say about this, and this goes to show, how I've learned about Doctor Who. I never realized the dialects were as old as the first Doctor. I mean, I didn't realize they came about in the second story.
Yeah.
So that's, I won't admit that. I was really surprised and quite excited when I found that out. So Drew, what would you say is your favorite?
I have a soft spot in my heart for the Aztecs, for the episode 6. Yeah, I really dig that one, and I think of all the Hartnell ones, with the exception of the very first episode with the Unearthly Child, I've seen that one the most of all Hartnell's.
Interesting.
I kind of was assuming we weren't counting the Unearthly Child, because it's so. I like episode 1. I'm not so much for was it 100,000 BC?
Yeah.
It's good, and I really like 100,000 BC, but by the time episode 6, we're starting to see Hartnell soften a little bit. I think that's what I like is the mystery is still there, but he and Ian and Barbara are not butting heads.
He's not trying to...
No, actually, I should really not say that, because he and Barbara are butting heads the entire time, but actually the crux of that storyline is so important to everything that we've seen.
He's not trying to electrocute them with the console of the TARDIS anymore.
Or bash their heads in with skulls, which we see again in Survival.
Which is interesting that you would say Aztecs, because episode 7, the censor rights, is the first time they really look back on where they've been.
Right.
Giving the show
if you can get through that entire storyline.
You just gotta get through the first 10 minutes for that little bit of continuity where they reflect on where they've been.
Oh, you think the censor rights is hard to go through?
It's hard.
I find the Daleks to be a really hard one to go through, especially the one episode where they're just trying to cross a gorge. It's obviously not that deep. That got me. I may have, the second time I watched that, I definitely fast forwarded through that whole section. I was like, oh no, don't fall 3 feet.
Okay, so we're over here.
What was yours?
Well, we'll get to
No,
some
let's do it
answers.
like that.
No. I'm actually having fun just asking you guys the questions.
All right.
Who would you say is your favorite companion? Because I think
Hartnell's companions?
Hartnell's, because I think I know who this is going to be.
Well, Ian and Barbara are two of my favorite companions, and I consider them to be this, they're a match set. They came in together, they left together. So I like them. Because I think that they really set the bar really high. Because at the point in time with Hartnell, we're still looking at the show as a way to educate children in an exciting way. And so there's that sense that you have a science teacher and a history teacher, and they're kind of giving you this view, even though, we have this thing that's different. It's never again do you feel like this, except for maybe with the Runaway Bride, where that the doctor has essentially kidnapped these people, and they're hostages, and you don't know what's going on with the doctor. And I say Runaway Bride because he has no idea how Donna Noble gets on board, and it kind of feels like a little nod to that. But I think just the whole dynamic, the way their entire tenure runs out, I would definitely have to say that they're some of two of my favorite companions of all time.
So Angela.
Okay, mine was, I have a couple on here. I actually put Susan, Ian, and Barbara because I like all three of them together.
Mm-hmm.
Because I loved Susan anyways. But
really?
yes, I thought she was quirky and funny.
No, I wouldn't have expected that.
And then I actually have another one on here, just because I love her name and she looks really awesome. I do like Dodo. I just like her 60s outfits. I can't help it. And the name just makes me laugh. Dodo.
Yeah.
I know it wasn't her actual
Dodo
name.
Shaplet or Chaplet.
Yeah.
Chaplet.
Yeah.
I've only seen Dodo in the Ark, so I mean I really can't.
Well, a lot of her episodes are lost.
Yeah.
Including the episode she comes into.
I want to see the episode where she leaves, where I think they send her to go and do something, and then the doctor leaves her and never comes back for her. We need to bring somebody back. I don't know the actress's name. We need to bring her back for just going, I waited for like a year. Actually, there's probably not more reason to have waited for the doctor at that point.
Okay. Because we're talking about, you just mentioned lost episodes, we'll start over here. Is there a certain lost episode that you would love to see, or have them find the story for?
The Massacre of St. Bartholomew's Eve.
Which just happens to be the
the French Catholic Protestant one. I just want to totally see that because I want to see how they would have done that.
Which is
and then the rest of season 4.
You just want the whole thing.
They only have like 2 episodes, like 2 parts out of. There was only like 2 storylines, but they only have 2 parts for one of. It's the first Cyberman story.
Yeah.
10 Planets, the only one they have like 1 or 2 parts of, but all the rest of them are. And the old Cyberman looks so hokey that I just. Yeah.
And the Massacre is also the first Dodo episode.
That's actually why I put it down here.
Yeah, she appears in like the last 5 minutes of the thing. Because I've listened to the audio. It's a lot of fun. It's actually, I would actually consider the first Dr. Light episode we ever had.
Oh, was Hartnell on
They still have photos. Like all the photos you see are with the doctor. But
but no. After listening to it, it's pretty much a Stephen heavy episode.
Mm.
And the doctor, and I actually tried to go online to find out why that was, and there was really no mention about why that one was so Dr. Light. But yeah, I think that's like the first Dr. Light episode. So which episode or story would you like to see found?
That's a tricky one. I would like to see the entirety of the 10th Planet. That sounds really fascinating because I gotta say, I find the first Cybermen, the original design, really creepy. Not having seen them really in action, I can't say the same. And then the entirety of the Celestial Toymaker would be a pretty cool one because I hear it's a really good episode. So either one of those would be. I'm trying to think. Is there a? No. I want to see Marco Polo.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I want to see Marco Polo.
That was another one that when I was sitting there looking, I was like.
Yeah, I'll say this. I would really love to see the 10th Planet, just for the fact I'm a sucker for the intro episode of Doctor, the regeneration episode, and then the one that comes back, the first adventure, and that 10th Planet is where he regenerates. I mean, we have a still, and I think we have a small clip of the regeneration. Yeah. But I would love to see that entire story. Yeah. And also, following that would have to be Marco Polo. I mean, I've listened to Marco Polo. It's amazing. So I would really love to see, and
The wardrobe just from the stills now, that's
oh,
amazing
it's
too.
gorgeous.
Oh my gosh.
I am not ashamed to say that I have not watched a good chunk of the lost episodes. I wanted to read the books. I have most of the Target novelizations, and then just watching a segment of it, I know you can get an appreciation for it. But when I was going through one, I didn't watch them. I didn't watch many of them anyway. So some of the ones that really piqued my interest, I did watch the reconstruction of Marco Polo that you get on the second disc. So you get Daleks, Edge of Destruction, and then Marco Polo in a just picture still and I think a narration or there's an audio.
Yeah.
And that sounded really very cool. It's really is, I guess, the first true history. Is that may have
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Okay. I'm trying to write down the questions. This is horrible.
Did you not write them down?
They're on my phone. And my phone's over there. No, okay. How would you characterize this doctor? I'll let you guys both throw it. I mean, how would you
Grumpy
describe
old
him in
man?
words?
Well, I think it's kind of hard to separate Hartnell from the Doctor, the first Doctor, especially as he got further along in his kind of tenure with the show, forgetting lines, and he kind of almost embodied it.
Every time I watch the first Doctor stuff, it reminds me so much of like when they would flub up on Dark Shadows. Because they didn't have the cutting scenes like we do now on television. So just like watching an episode of Dark Shadows, and you can tell they're flubbing a line, but they're trying to like catch themselves.
Right. Well, the thing about it is, with Hartnell, there's something really amazing in that we have 50 years worth of history to look back, and we can reflect what we know and kind of project that on Hartnell's Doctor. But at the time it came out, no one knew who the Doctor was. You know, we don't know. He's a Time Lord. All we know he's an alien. He looks human. Who is this granddaughter he's with? Where do you get the machine? There's so much mystery, and he essentially abducts. And we have this kind of unique view in that Hartnell's Doctor, at least for the first season, we're not rooting for the Doctor. We're rooting for Ian and Barbara. They're the heroes of the story. Hartnell's actually almost the antagonist because he took them. But as the stories progress and they do a really good job with this kind of evolution of their relationship between the four of them. And I think it's probably the most successful quartet on a ship up until Amy, Rory, River that we see in there.
Brian?
Well,
I'm joking.
yeah, I was like, I'm trying to remember Brian. I guess Brian, of course, Brian counts as a companion, which is fantastic. I love Brian, and yeah, that's a good one as well. But it's nice to see that relationship change with them, and I kind of miss the mystery. And I know they were moving back to that with Sylvester McCoy in the later seasons. But you go back and watch it, you really get the sense that this is kind of cool because as an audience, we're learning what our heroes are learning at the same time.
So, how would you expound on that at all, or is that Grumpy Old Man? Okay, this is another question I had, and we'll go to Angela first. Do you have a favorite moment with the first Doctor?
Like one specific moment.
A moment that just, maybe defines the character, or you just absolutely just love that scene because it's just the epitome of that Doctor.
The electrocuting Ian on the console is always a fun one.
Ian Doggett lives! I have a soft spot in my heart for the Doctor flirting in Aztecs with his, because he kind of sort of gets married in that episode.
He does.
And I read somewhere fairly recently that people were down on that scene because it was the Doctor manipulating a native person to get something he wanted, and they're like, I didn't get that feeling that he was being a jerk in that moment. I thought it was actually, I thought it felt genuine. It's kind of interesting because Hartnell actually feels old. He looks old, and that's something that as the Doctors are getting younger and younger and younger, we don't really get back to until Matt Smith, and I feel Matt Smith does a good job being old. but he's the old man in a young man's body with a child's sense of romance, and it was kind of cool to see a couple of old folks flirt.
I'll agree with you. I always took that as a very romantic gesture. I didn't see it as him manipulating anybody. Now, I will say what my favorite scene was, that I think really defines the Doctor and everything. The first time I saw this scene was in the Five Doctors, because it's the only bit of footage that they used for the first Doctor in that special, was his farewell speech to Susan in Invasion of the Daleks. I don't know, that's always defined the first Doctor to me, because that was the first time I was exposed really to the first Doctor. It was in the Five Doctors, and as a kid I never realized the actor that was playing the first Doctor in it wasn't the first Doctor, because I was a kid. It didn't really register to me, but that speech, I mean, it's just such a sweet, I mean, he's showing just how much he loves his granddaughter in that speech, I think. And sending her on her way so she can become her own woman out from her grandfather's shadow.
Or to get her off the show, yeah. Is that how the show, is that how Five Doctors starts?
Yeah, with that speech. And then it goes into the opening credits.
It really is. It is a good speech. Very memorable. I wish I had it memorized so I could just spout it off.
I have most of it memorized, but I get some of the words flubbed up.
Sure.
But yeah, it's one of those few things I've been able to memorize, because I can't memorize for shit. But I have most of that remembered, because it's just an amazing speech.
Yeah, it's a good episode. I still feel that you know, it wasn't a particularly what's the word I'm looking for? Responsible thing. It's like, okay, so my granddaughter's found a guy she liked. I think, yes, I'm going to strand her in time in a world desolated by killer machines. Yes, that's a good, I'll make that decision right here.
Yeah, but the thing is, we don't know how old Susan actually is.
That is a good point. It is a good point. We don't, yeah.
So is there anything else you want to say about the first Doctor? Because I think we've done a very decent primer of the first Doctor. Is there anything else you want to say about him?
I would just like to give a special shout out to the Web Planet, which is, I don't want to say it's one of my favorite Doctor Who's. It is in theory, because one of the things
that was almost on my list
of favorites.
Yeah.
It is an incredibly boring. I think it's 6 episodes. It really should have only been 3. But I think what is beautiful about that episode, and as I was watching it, I really got this appreciation that Doctor Who, at least the first 3 years of it, with the Hartnell years, is theater. It is live theater. They rehearsed. They basically had an hour to film. They did all of it in between 1 and 4 takes for the most part. There's very little editing, so it really is kind of a triumph of theater in that sense. And to have something as kind of complex as the costuming and wires, and I mean, everything in that season went over budget. That episode, Web Planet, just went so horribly over budget, but you could tell that the director of that was obviously not a television director.
No.
I don't know his history, but you can tell he was a theater director. There's no close-ups. If it's a shot of 3 of them talking, it wouldn't go from 1 to 1 to 1. It was a shot of the 3 of us. Not everyone was mic'd. You couldn't hear everybody. The plot's really bad. They thought the Zarbi were going to be the next Daleks for some reason. But I watched it and I thought, if we got a chance in 1964, or maybe early 65, I don't remember when it was aired, to go and watch a 2-hour production of Doctor Who and the Web Planet, and we saw that live on stage, it would be amazing, you know? It just happened that it was, it's kind of like the Doctor's discussion of television on how the TARDIS is bigger on the inside than outside. You know, you have it in the television. We had the limitations of television. We should be watching on this stage, and that's kind of how I've seen most of Hartnell's tenure is kind of like, okay, I'm watching a play, it just happens to have been recorded on a kind of
He was just giving a finished up.
Yeah, you too. I was going to let you say any last words you want to say about the first Doctor.
I said a lot about him already.
So
You didn't say we had to have something prepared for the ending too.
Oh, always.
you know, we had some prepared. So Davey, your favorite episode is
I would probably have to go with The Unearthly Child.
Unearthly Child.
Yeah.
Favorite moment is the
Yeah,
discussion.
Yeah.
How you sum up Hartnell.
Oh, how is something Hartnell?
Oh, yeah, it's your turn now.
Yeah, no, I would say he's that grumpy old grandfather that we don't want, but we do want. That we'd love to go on crazy adventures with.
The one that tells you to get out of his yard and stop playing there.
Yeah.
That keeps all your baseballs when you accidentally hit him over in his yard.
But then he takes you through time and space.
Which
I
is
don't-
just, it turns out to just be his garage.
But I mean,
And then the companion?
well, let me finish also with the first Doctor. I mean, he was the first.
Sure.
You know, everything is built upon him. And I also want to throw a caveat in here. Him and the second Doctor. There's so much that's built on these two Doctors. And I'll talk more about the second Doctor next month. That, you know, they define something. I mean, they're the building blocks of the institution that is Doctor Who. They defined it all. And then, you know, everything else that's come after that's built on it. I mean, you just have to be amazed that, you know, this man who was not always in the best of health, you know, managed to do this for as long as he did. I mean, I think he gives a huge credit to the actor who played Ian, because one of the reasons why he got the part was because he could play off Hartnell, especially when he was having trouble remembering his lines and things like that. I mean, it happens with this first Doctor that, you know, gives us Doctor Who. And who would have thought that, you know, back then, you know, that Doctor Who would still be, you know, alive and doing well and in the hearts and minds of, you know, the viewers. It's amazing to think 50 years come November. This November. I mean, this show has been around. It is an institution of sci-fi fantasy. It is, you know, it's one of the sci-fi fantasy greats. And it all starts with this first Doctor, William Hartnell, and the TARDIS, the blue police box, you know, where it says, you know, push, don't pull. I mean, it's just.
Or in the case of the William Hartnell episodes, the black and white police box.
Yes, the black
That's
and white
true,
police
yeah.
box, yeah. But it just amazes me, you know, this was coming on before I was even alive.
Yes.
Long before I was even alive.
I know, but I mean, it's just.
Our parents were teenagers when this show
Yeah.
was on.
But I mean,
Yeah.
it's just real. It's just such a sense of wonder and magic that, you know, something like this could survive for as long as it has.
Your parents were teenagers? My parents were like 6.
I'm older than you.
I know you're
By
older
a
than me, but
lot.
Not that much.
There is, you know, it's something to be said that there are people out there who watched the first episode of Doctor Who live.
Yeah.
And probably watched a good chunk of all the lost episodes. They've seen
Yeah.
them. So we need to find them, remove their brains, find out where it's stored, and hook them up to one of
to a
those
projector screen
That's
and watch
brilliant.
it.
Yeah.
And then for my favorite companion, you know, with them, because I still haven't seen as much of the first Doctor as you have. Right now, it definitely is, like you said, the original 3. Because again, they set the standard.
Mhm.
They were such a part of the story. Now I do look forward to next month when we get the
Reign of Terror.
Reign of Terror, because then I'll have the complete first season of Doctor Who. I can't wait to watch it.
Yeah.
And just, you know, get a sense of, you know, what they saw back then, you know, just a sense of that entire arc,
Mhm.
because I'll rewatch everything in one thing. So, any last words you want to say about the Doctor?
I'm good.
About Hartnell? Okay, so this is GPR signing off on our first special about the various Doctors as we count down to the 50th anniversary. Oh, quick question: out of curiosity, is this your favorite Doctor?
You know, I'm going to go with my general answer in that
Okay,
whatever
so
Doctor I'm watching.
Okay.
Not like overall super favorite, but I mean, also probably if I was able to go and watch every single episode that he had, I'd be able to make a better decision.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is GPR signing off. Until next time, people. Peace.